Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Tam McManus are here with me. We're absolutely delighted that you could join us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as ever. We are so grateful for your support throughout 2022 and hopefully you'll continue that into 2023. There's lots to talk about. We'll look back on that match at Pittodrie. Give us your thoughts on it. What did you make of Aberdeen and their attitude to the game? They went all out to have a go at Rangers. Were you happy with that? Rangers fans, are you happy with the fight back that delivered not only 1 point but 3 points in the end? Did you think it was going to be one of those nights when maybe all 3 points could have been dropped? It's an interesting topic. We'll get the thoughts of Tam McManus and Alan Ruff, and we'll look ahead to Celtic against Livingston and deal with some of the other stories that are grabbing the headlines. So, first things first, I'd like to mention some of the people who watch the show, Ruffy, and also like a wee mention. And this one's a great one. It's a pic of, I think, possibly our youngest fan on the show, Ruffy. Are you happy with that? Could you wish my son, Brody, a happy first birthday? We both regularly watch the programme and we think he's going to be a future Hibs captain. He hasn't left his name. I can't believe that. But, Ruffy, I don't know about you, but he looks as if he could be a future Hibs captain. Brody looks magnificent.
Yeah, I think Brody will be looking for a really good Christmas. You know, obviously your first Christmas is one you always remember. And he looks as if he's really early enough, you know, to get his football gear. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets.
I'll tell you one thing that I hope his dad does, Tam, because that's undoubtedly, I think, his first Hibs top. So he's got to frame that and the photograph in it as well. You always remember your first top for the team you supported, don't you?
He's looking well, the wee man there, and I still hope it's a great birthday. He's even got the wee Hibs blonde hair and the wee mullet that we used to have.
Yeah.
And that'll be the first time he said a good wishes from a Hibs legend and a Hibs player.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just about to say. Yeah, but I was going to say to you, it is something to remember, though. I mean, getting your strip on there, and then of course you two with that strong Hibs connection. But Brody, as he goes on in life, will realise exactly what Ruffy's hinting at there as he gets on.
But for a lifetime of disappointment with a Hibby.
Well, you never know, by the way, things could change.
I hope so.
There could be somebody in Qatar who's got a strong...
Well, he has won the Scottish Cup.
Well, I'm not going to actually tweet anything out anyway. But listen, happy birthday to you, Brody. Also, might as well fire out the quiz question. All to do with Aberdeen Rangers. We're going to be talking about it. Here it is. How many times have Aberdeen won the top league in Scotland? And if you want to...
League, the SPFL.
No, just
every
league in general.
Every league.
You know, the top flight league. How many times, Ruffy?
I'll go for...
I'll give you the answer at the end, but how many do you think?
I'll go for 4.
4.
5.
5, okay. Give us your guess on that as well. We'll give you the answer at the end. I'm going to read out a few more messages too, and some on our feed on YouTube. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, share it with your friends, and also hit the subscribe button too. And if you download the app, you can actually watch it on your phone, wherever you are. Rusty Pollock, I'm not sure that's his name. It's just the handle that came in on the email. Rusty says...
I think I have a speech impediment with that one.
Thanks for keeping me updated on all things Scottish football here in Singapore, Ruffy. So Rusty says, as a Morton supporter and having watched a lot of their games online this season, I think Morton and Ayr United are the best two teams in the league. I think the Ton can sneak this league title.
Well, the two of them are the surprise packages of the Championship. I don't think anybody thought they were going to be up there, particularly Ayr United. And it's absolutely amazing because Partick Thistle played Morton and we hammered them 5-1. It was going on 6 or 7, and since that game they went on an unbeaten run. So they must be doing something right down there, and well done to them to be up there. It is a hard shift to continue to be up there for the whole season, so it's a really, really tight championship.
Yeah, and this one here from Steve, who's in Edmonton in Canada, says it's minus 33. We moan when we get a wee bit of snow. It's minus 33.
Canada's mental at this time because I've got family over in Vancouver, and they sent me a picture last night, and the snow's about 6 feet deep. So yeah, it's not a time of the year. If you don't like snow or the cold, it's not a time to be in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will they be geared up for it? Will they be prepared?
Yep.
Will the gritters be out? Will the
I
snowplows be out?
don't think the gritters will be, but I think they know how to handle it, put it that way, instead of the country coming to a complete stop. Hi to Keith, who joins us, Niall Kane, who always is in there, Matt as well, as more than a few, Nicky Twig. Brian says Willie Collum must have received the VAR and extra time memo from the SFA. We're just about to talk about Aberdeen against Rangers. Gregor says Goodwin bottled it again. Hi to Earl, and also Dom, who says, Peter, me and my dad never miss this show. Keep up the good work. The amount of people who actually make sure that they're regular on the show is so appreciated by, of course, Ruffy and Tam as well. Good morning, team. Merry Christmas, says Brian Spence from Calgary. It's minus 29 here today.
Lethal.
My car has been stuck at the train station for 2 days, frozen to the core. Now.
Well, that's not the boy with the Rangers car, is it?
No,
the Rangers car.
No, that was Florida. He was roasting.
Oh, that was
yeah.
convertible. He's in a convertible. The snow.
Brian is in very, very cold conditions, so we wish you the very best in getting your car out there, Brian. But lots of people from all over wishing us a Merry Christmas, and to you when it comes as well. Don't forget, as of next week, because we all have a wee bit of time off, we'll be putting out some specials to commemorate our 10 years. Ruffy, I've been having a look through some of the things, and I can't stop laughing at some of the madness.
No, some of it is just, it doesn't matter if it's the beginning or the end or whatever, the middle. Everybody we've been on has been good. There's
Maka, and we'll get Smudger in there as well.
Mark
McGee, Lennon, yourself, Tam Cowan, of course, who just skates that fine line between comedy and madness.
Chris Sutton making that.
Sutty's on it. There's two huge hard drives of great memories, and I'm sifting through as many as I can to get as many of the shows out, Ruffy. So let's cut to the chase. One other one here, I think, Kenny, who regularly actually messages us from Los Angeles. He's a big fan of the show. He watches it regularly. He says, Peter, I am lost for words. I was nearly physically sick after that performance last night. 53 minutes, 2-1 up. We had them rattled. He makes 3 changes and we totally sit off them and wait for them to come at us. The keeper gets hurt and stays on the park. I am sorry, he says. Goodwin has a small club mentality against the old firm. Stewart is a mistake waiting to happen, but at least we're playing a team at Jim Goodwin's level on Saturday, so we stand a chance. And by the way, he says, thanks for a super show. Well, you can tell from some Aberdeen fans they are absolutely miffed at the way it went about, and Rangers fans will be miffed at the game plan from Aberdeen, which was drastically changed from what I witnessed on Saturday with Celtic. So first of all, Aberdeen 2, Rangers 3. What did you make of it?
I thought it was a fantastic game. I think compared to the weekend where they just sat, and Aberdeen were never going to do that again against Rangers. It was Jim Goodwin took too much criticism. He was always going to come out and have a go. They got themselves, I thought, first 10-15 minutes Rangers were the better team. Deservedly went in front, and then Aberdeen just started to grow into the game. I thought the wee boy Duke up front caused Rangers a lot of problems with his pace and his movement. They go 2-1 in front, and then I agree with the guy that just called in there to make the 3 substitutions, and they started to drift so deep. Goalkeeper makes a real poor error. You know, it's a shot straight at him. You know, he cannot spill that. You know, at that time of the game, Arfield's on there on the spot, and then just dreadful defending. The captain, the boy Stewart at the back for Aberdeen I thought he was terrible. I thought he was at fault for the first goal as well, third goal. And somehow they contrived to lose the game where they deserved at least a point for the game. But you've got to give Rangers credit. Again, against Hibs, they were poor, you know, in spells of the game, but they showed a real willingness to win the game, and they've done that. But if Rangers defend like that and play like that against Celtic at Ibrox, Celtic will absolutely destroy them.
Well, I must admit, I was sitting down, Ruffy, watching this one, thinking to myself, I wonder what the game plan is. And you could tell right away that Aberdeen in the opening minutes were up for it. They were ready to have a go. The way they played, as Tam mentioned, the Rangers getting the lead, and then suddenly Aberdeen, you know, have a point where I thought they're 2-1 ahead. Are they going to go for a third? But then all of a sudden he decides just to sit in, and I thought that played right into Rangers' hands.
Yeah, it did, and I agree with everything Tam said there. You know, at 2-1, you know, as a manager, you've got to make a decision. And I don't know if you remember, during the World Cup, a lot of people were criticising certain managers, you know, but managers who make the right decisions become great managers, you know, and Jim will have to hold his hands up and say, he made the wrong decision, you know, he made the... And when you're at the side, sometimes you've got to make a decision, you know, what was it, 57 minutes they were winning 2-1?
Yeah.
He has to say to himself, well, we're playing well, we're 2-1 up, let's go for a third. But he went the opposite way. He went, well, I think we could maybe see this game out, you know, and the substitutions he made were just wrong, you know. But as Tam said there, they just gave, at the end they gave Rangers the 3 points. The goalkeeper slipping the ball, and then the centre half heading the ball back into it. You just can't do that.
Yeah, but even on the right hand side, and great credit to Teal, because you know, Tillman, I beg your pardon, because he actually persevered. I mean, he's shown a bit of trickery, and he persevered to get the ball in there, which I thought was great to his credit as well, Tam.
Yeah, he was the one towards the end of the game that looked dangerous for Rangers, and he manages to get a yard of space, and he slipped a great ball through to Arfield just before that. Arfield should have scored on his left foot and hurt it straight to the goalkeeper, but Tillman looked the one that was going to go and create, and he was the one that done that. But I think you've got to give great credit to Scotty Arfield. I think when he's out of the team, he came on, he's took a bit of criticism for Rangers fans, I think, over the last season, 18 months. One thing about Scotty is he'll never hide, and he'll keep getting in the box, even if he misses one, and he missed one just before it, you know, left foot, and he could have just thought, oh, it's no man right, but he kept getting in there, and he got his reward with the one that came off the goalkeeper, and then he hits the ball into the ground for the winner, and it bounces over the goalkeeper, gets his wee bit of luck, but he's in the 6-yard box, you know, and just waiting for an opportunity, and he took them, and he becomes the hero of the night.
Yeah, well, for me, Rangers got what they deserved because they had the right mentality, and even their manager was giving them good marks for having the right mentality, play right to the end.
Right on half time, we play a silly ball into midfield and don't secure it, end up giving away a free kick and find ourselves 1-1. Don't start the second half well. It's a heck of a strike from a boy that I know quite well. And then after that, we really struggled. So we made the 4 subs, we changed the way we were playing, and ultimately it's come off tonight. So sometimes fortune favours the brave. I would probably say 10 out of 10 for character and mentality, and 5 out of 10 for performance. We need to keep improving.
Well, I'll tell you, fair play to Michael Beale. He's not mincing his words. He's not kidding on anyone when he's in the press conference. He's saying, you know, this just isn't good enough. You know, 3-2 against Hibs, didn't mince his words there. Same again. He knows that he's going to change that team drastically because, listen, you can dress it up any way you want. That team will not catch Celtic and win the league.
No, I think we would all agree, and I think Rangers supporters would agree that last night they were a minute away from the league being finished. You know, if it had ended up 2 each, and if Celtic won tonight against Liv, they wouldn't have been able to catch them. You know, so as long as he's telling the players that as well, and the Rangers supporters will be waiting to see, right, what are you going to do about it? What is the club going to do about it? Who are we bringing in the transfer window? What kind of players are we bringing in? When the transfer window's done and dusted, then we'll know what his ambitions are for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and he deserves great credit as well, Tam, because he made substitutions which were positive to try and get them into the game.
Yeah, he was proactive, as I said. You're 2-1 down, you've obviously got to go for it a little bit. Left Morelos and Tillman on, Kent on, you know, and put Wright on. So a lot of attacking options in the final third. And he's right, fortune did favour the Brave. Rangers kept going to the very end, whereas Aberdeen were hanging on. They were playing negatively. I thought Rangers started playing positively towards the end, and they get the 2 goals. And as Ruffy says, it just keeps a small flicker of the league title still alive. You know, Celtic, you would expect them to beat Livingston, but if Rangers can win every game up until the Old Firm game in January, then if they win that, they're back in it, but they've got to win every game till then.
Yeah. We discussed yesterday about this extra time, and I still believe if we're going to get extra time at 7 and 8 minutes, the only teams it's going to favour are Rangers and Celtic, because they're going to be going for it right to the end. They're not going to ease up. They're going to keep continually battle away.
Well, wait a minute, Ruffy. I'm delighted he actually.
Oh, I'm quite happy.
There's about 9 subs. There's people feigning injury. Your classic goalkeeper rolls about, you know, and does what he does. You know, just grabs the ball and then dives when nobody's near him. You know, his mob waste time all the time. So I was happy when he held up 7 minutes because, quite simply, we want to see what's happening in the World Cup. You know, 7 and 10 minutes. People are paying for an entertainment. If you're an Aberdeen fan, you didn't get entertained on Saturday because they were ranked rotten, but you want to be as entertained as possible and given enough in the appropriate time, and I think they're starting to get it right. I hope that continues.
I think it will continue with VAR. I think with the checks going on, and some of the time wasting, I think the World Cup set a precedent of, listen, if you're going to roll about, you're going to waste time, we're going to add 7, 8, 10 minutes on at the end. So it will stop people from wasting time.
That's why I'm saying, Tam, it's going to favour Rangers and Celtic.
Well, can I ask you
Because
this?
they're not going to be the ones that are hanging on at the end of games.
Yeah, so here's Jim Goodwin talking about why maybe his players just lost that edge at the end.
And we just didn't manage the game well enough. I think, I could talk about fatigue, but then people would probably think I'm making excuses, but I do think that played a part. I think the boys looked tired. We were getting deeper and deeper as the game went on. That's why we made the changes that we did, because the front lads were dead on their feet.
Has he got a point there on the basis that they played Celtic on Saturday?
I think
he's the one that's got them at training after the Celtic game leading up to the Rangers game. He's the ones he knows that have put in a shift and are struggling a wee bit. So again, a manager, as I said at the beginning, has to make decisions, and you either get them right or you get them wrong. I don't think it was fatigue. Rangers' second goal, it was a mistake with the goalkeeper. The third goal was a poor header for the centre half back into the area where they're going to get hurt. So that wasn't fatigue for me, but he made the decisions and he's got to stand by them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he can take the criticism. We did mention prior to the game, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But Aberdeen, when I think, well, we're talking about it today in the office, there's 2 or 3 generations, I think 2 generations definitely, Tam, who, they don't think Aberdeen, should be winning trophies, the 2 generations that have followed them. They can't be thinking that. They've had 1 League Cup win in 20 odd years. The Fergie generation are grandpas and dads in their late 50s. This is an Aberdeen team that if they're going to be the third force, they need to change their mentality. They are nowhere near the mentality of the Fergie side of the 80s. They're nowhere near it.
No, they aren't. I think if you get success as a Hearts or a Hibs or an Aberdeen, you win trophies, then you get a wee taste for it. As you said, Aberdeen have been miles off it in terms of winning trophies. One, Derek McInnes, I think at Parkhead against Inverness is the only one they've won. So they've got to plenty of finals, but they can't seem to get over the line, and that is a mentality thing. I know some of them were against the great Brendan Rodgers team, but you're right. I personally don't think they'll finish third. I fancy Hearts strongly to finish third. I think Hearts have got more mentality, more winners in their team. And I think they will finish third, but disappointing for Aberdeen if they hang on last night. It's a huge result, but as long as they didn't, and they lose the game, then these questions are going to remain for Aberdeen.
Yeah, here's their record against Celtic and Rangers, which doesn't make good reading. Aberdeen's record against Celtic, 2017-18, lost 3, won 1, lost 2, won 1, drawn 1. You get lost 3 in 2019-20, lost 2, draw 2. Wins are rare, to say the least, So, lost 15, drawn 1, and won 2 against Celtic, going back to 2017. Rangers, the record against Rangers for Aberdeen, and you can see there, lost 3, drawn 1, lost 3, drawn 1, lost 1, drawn 2. They haven't won against Rangers going back to 2017. Lost 14, drawn 6. It's not a great. It's woeful. The record's woeful.
The thing about that is, when the Derek McInnes Aberdeen team, they took care of everybody else. That's why they were continuously third under Derek McInnes, or third or fourth. They beat St Mirren and Motherwell's. They took care of. Okay, their record against Old Firm wasn't great, but they were very consistent against other teams, and that's something you've got to be if you're going to finish third. You've got to beat the other teams around about you. Yeah,
thanks to so many people who've posted messages on the game. Thanks to Mark Simpson, who basically says, Peter, get out of Beale's backside. He's only been in for 2 games, yet your loving for him is puke material.
He's got a point.
Listen, you can only cut fairly a manager slack on what they're doing. They lost 2 goals against Hibs. a Hibs side, may I add, that I've seen on more than a few occasions this season, who are rank rotten, to say the least. They lost 2 goals against them, and they lost 2 goals against an Aberdeen side that for 50 odd minutes, Ruffy, showed the right attitude, the way they should have played against Celtic, and then they just capitulated. So, you know, I think he does deserve some credit, because in the second half of games, he's had that look of a man who's worried, knowing that the fight's gone. They were almost, as you mentioned it, out of the race for Celtic. And I still don't see them catching Celtic. But I do think you made the best point, which is quite simply in January, the pressure's not on Michael Beale, the pressure's on Ross Wilson and that board to find him players and get the deadwood out.
Yeah, well, the manager's coming on and telling everybody, you know, that I want to take the club forward. There are players will be leaving and there'll be players coming back in, but the evidence will be at the end of January when that happens, you know, and the kind of player that's coming in. You do have to give Rangers, the players last night, all the credit for fighting right to the end. You know, if that's him that's installing that in the players, then well done to him, you know, but you can't carry on like that. You can't carry on, you know, coming back at games at, you know, into injury time and all, because all of a sudden there'll be one game, you'll not get the wee breaks that are going your way, and then all of a sudden you're not getting the 3 points.
Yeah, Ronnie says, once again we see the Jekyll and Hyde of Aberdeen. Against Celtic, they basically parked the bus, but against Rangers, a totally different attacking team. And Ian just has taken this off on a tangent. He says, Ruffy's wearing these Skechers, does he ever take them off? Has he got anything else? I mean, he just wears the same.
I haven't asked that for 6 months.
He just wears the same thing all the time. And when he walked in, today, our journalist Cheryl says, he's going to wear that jumper forever. I mean, honestly.
Well, I've got another one. I'll wear them on. I might get a pair of Skechers for my Christmas. I'll put that on the list. So I'll get another colour.
Yeah.
I can't afford you, designer. What is it, Boss? That Boss, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different league, you know.
It's difficult to compete with Bonzo here because he's got 12 jobs.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Tells us something on the Monday, and then it's in the record on the Tuesday. Then he regurgitates it on the Wednesday, and then fires it out to all the other places that he works as well. So we've got him. We've got him tagged, but there's lots of people. Hugh Scott says, afternoon Peter, Ruffy and Tam, I'm glad to get the result last night, even without playing well. Lots to improve on, but the main thing was getting the points. And also Fitzy says, the Hibs chairman giving us the worst manager they've had in a while. More time is laughable on him. We're going to talk about him as well. You've been giving him it in the neck too. We'll talk about Lee Johnson and others. But here's the table. Here's how it looks. Rangers have again reduced the gap at the top to only 6 points. Celtic have it all to do tonight against Livingston. We'll discuss that shortly. But at the bottom end there, I think we've all changed. I don't think I picked St Johnstone. There's no way they're getting relegated now. It's Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Ross County in the mix, and I wouldn't rule Motherwell out of it just yet. It'll be interesting to see. Would you rule Hibs out of it, Tam?
No, I wouldn't. No, until I see.
Mind is the 3 games.
I've got Livingston. I've got Livingston at home on Christmas Eve, and then they've got Celtic at home
and Hearts
8th, and then Hearts away.
Yeah.
The Livingston games, I spoke about it today in the paper, the Livingston game is the biggest game for Lee Johnson's reign so far.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
If you get beaten that game.
If you get beaten that game, what?
You're in a relegation battle.
Yeah.
Hibs are in a relegation battle.
Is he under pressure for the sack?
Well, I think he is, because you've got Celtic at home and Hearts away after that, and you know, I don't see many points getting picked up for those 2 fixtures, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what's happened with Hibs, by the way? I mean, it's all gone pear-shaped, Ruffy, and my genuine feeling on it is, it's the board. The board's attitude has completely changed that club.
Well, Tam knows more about it than us because he was there last year, you know, so he knows what's going on behind the scenes, you know, that there has been. I mean, we keep talking about Rangers director of football and the bad buys that have been coming in there, and Tam probably gives a list of Hibs bad buys, and I think that'll be up there the same as a lot of other clubs, but certainly doesn't look as if it's been the right player for Hibs that's been signed. We used to watch a Hibs side when we used to go to the games, and the midfield in particular was the engine, you know, with Scott Allen in there, and you know, and McGinn and them, and they were just so good to watch.
Yeah.
I think they've lost that now. I don't know what kind of players they think that Hibs supporters want to be watching, but certainly know the ones that are coming through the door.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean there was a period when they were an absolute joy to watch in the midfield. McGinn, McGeoch, Scott Allen. I mean I do like the boy Joe Newell, but they've lost it now. They look spineless. The back end always concedes goals, Tam. And before he picked up his injury, you and I were talking about Nisbet. He was off form. He wasn't on great form going into that injury.
I think he'll be a better player now for being out injured. I really do. I think that he's had an opportunity to watch plenty of football. He's been able to work himself harder in the gym, get himself fitter. I think you'll see an improved Kevin Nisbet, and it's a good start from him scoring the goal at Rangers. But it's been a downward spiral ever since they sacked Jack Ross. There's been bottom six last season. Wee Sean come in, couldn't buy a goal. You know, Lee Johnson's come in. It's still the nucleus of the same team. They've brought in loads of players, and half of them don't play. You know, so you're still playing the players that you had before. It's a real mess at the minute at Hibs, and honestly, I just think if Hibs can just stay away from the relegation and finish mid-table, it'll be a decent season. Honestly, it's a big season of transition for Hibs. You've got to give the guy an opportunity to get his own players in. I think he'll get that this window, and he's got to try and get the wins out that he wants. But
so if he loses the 3 games.
If he loses the 3 games, he's Hibs on the relegation battle.
Yeah, but I'm saying if he loses the 3 games, does he get the window to change it?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
I think he does.
Okay, so he's not under pressure in your mind. And the source says, has Tam been banned from Hibs? No, you're not banned just because you have an opinion. Although you do get banned some places, Ruffy, I have to tell you, just from my own experience of the whole thing. Thanks to Chris Andrews, who says Ruffy wears different socks. Good man. So there you are. It just shows you. Some people actually. I know. Some people actually tune in for the football in the chat. Some people just tune in so they can annoy other people who are having normal lives. And they
new socks, Ruffy.
And then
I found them. I just found them in the drawer, so I changed them for the white ones. So.
Fantastic, Ruffy. And lots of other people just post things. I don't mind getting caned. Tam certainly doesn't mind getting caned. Ruffy, of course. You were the last.
He does get hurt. He does get hurt. Actually, the last don't cane Ruffy. He gets affected. But
I was just about to say the last couple of weeks have been the toughest ever. In the 10 years we've been on this show, you've had a rough time.
Yeah, I'm getting back. I'm trying. It's Christmas. I'm trying.
Quite low, weren't you? Quite low for a couple of weeks.
Desperate.
That's the worst I've seen you in 10 years. I mean, there was one time on here that day when you made no comment. You just kept saying no comment. I thought that was the lowest point ever. I'd rather have no opinion than no comment. You know, which you managed to maintain for a good 9 years on the show. But we will be showing you some of Ruffy's best bits, and that's a 3.5 minute programme we're putting out next Wednesday. But there's
put one out of best gear then.
Yeah,
have a special day for all the gear that we've wore.
I think. Well, to be fair, nobody's going to beat Barry for the shoes. I mean,
nobody will be. We used to give this. This is just going off tack a wee bit. We used to give each other Christmas presents, and we got a Christmas present one year from a previous. In all fairness, Smudger always gave us a Christmas present, and this year he gave us the two of us. He gave us a Christmas present, and when we opened the bag, we looked at it.
No. Before he opened the bag, he asked us something, and he said to us, he gave us two of his presents, and he dropped them up, and he said to us, you know, I gave my son-in-law this present, and he says, do you think I've offended him? And we said, well, what is it? And he says, well, it's these new vests that it's like a corset. It tucks everything in and makes you look thinner than you actually are.
Spanx or something.
Yeah, he says, do you think it would offend him because I've given him it? And we said, no, that's fine. I mean, you've given him a present. Obviously, you want to try and just say to him, you put this on, you'll start to look a wee bit better when you're putting your gear on. I said, so no, he won't be offended. He went, oh, that's all right.
Did you use them?
Aye.
So he given
the turning point for me was the one he gave me was a medium. You can imagine.
He couldn't breathe. And I thought, well done, Smudger. Absolutely fantastic. So it was his loving way of caring us, and I think Martin has actually nailed it. He says, Martin says Richard Foster always wore the designer gear that Amy bought him. I mean, he had a lot of gear. Whatever happened to him?
Dior, Balenciaga, all that stuff. He made me look bad, by the way. Is that alright with you too?
He's back with us next week.
Oh, good.
There you are with his gear. He's on our special with Sean Maloney, Richard Foster, myself and Ruffy will be looking ahead to the Old Firm game on January the 2nd in a special on the 20th. Well, he hasn't played for Celtic or Rangers, has he? There's no point getting him on for that.
He's a wee pal of Sean's, but
yeah.
They'll probably meet each other right away.
I was going to say to you,
I'm not coming in with you, Sean. He's been looking for me for about 6 months.
Somebody said to me, we were talking about the potential of the game. Is he getting Tam on? I went, and then Alison turned around and she went, I don't think he gets on with Sean at the moment. And then I just remembered I twigged and went, thank God I didn't ask Tam to come on the show. Anyway, it's 29th, so hopefully you're going to join that and you'll enjoy it as well. We'll look into the game. And Gregor has just come on, who says Peter's mate Sean Maloney. That'll be nice. Absolutely, Gregor. I know you've caned me on several occasions for that. Sticking up for him.
It's a busy time for me, Sean, at the minute.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Help Santa.
You're such a moron. You really are. You're going to get battered. Celtic against Livingston, Ruffy. They could restore their 9-point advantage if they get the win. Are Livingston going to, put a span on the
I think Livingston will make it hard for them. Livingston. I think they will make it hard for them, but if Celtic continue to play the way and create chances, create majority of possession in games, I mean 81% in a game is ridiculous against teams, but we know Livingston can make it difficult, but it depends for me when Celtic score. If they score early, I think there's only one winner, but the longer the game goes, Livingston will believe they can maybe take something out of the game. I can't see it. I think it's a Celtic win for me.
Wouldn't it have been easier for you to flip that statement around and say there's not a catch chance in hell?
Oh, there is a catch chance. There's
but
always
you're giving us your usual probability stuff.
Well, that's the way football is. We know Livingston, we know what they're like. On their day, they're very difficult to beat. I just think Celtic in full flow at home, as they were at Aberdeen, as I said, 81% of a game, you've got to take your chances, and I think Celtic had something like 32 shots a goal. Yeah,
I think with McGregor back in the middle of the park, he's different from O'Reilly. I think he almost quickens the engine up of the team again. I think they've got the real shot in the arm from him. I can't see Livingston putting any spanner in the works, Tam, because I watched Celtic and they were relentlessly just going about their business thinking, okay, we'll wait, we'll keep pounding. Sometimes I thought they overplayed it, but they still waited and were able to bide their time to get the eventual winner. But at home, at Celtic Park, I mean, you're looking at seven from 7 league games at home this season and 15 out of 16 games in total. And even then I thought he made too many changes against St Mirren, which cost them. But other than that blip, they look as if they are continuing where they left off before the World Cup.
Yep, and they're strengthening the squad as well. They've got players coming in, Alistair Johnson, Kobayashi.
Yeah, he's mentioned that he thinks there's a third one on the way shortly. Yeah,
there's real competition for places at Celtic. Now, you've seen on Saturday, he's not scared to make a change either. He hooked Maeda at half time, put a batter on, and he makes triple substitutions. So if you're not doing it, you're hooked no matter who you are. So Jota as well, I thought was quiet at the weekend, so he's got so much competition and quality in that squad that it's going to drive the team on. But I can see Livingston making it difficult for Celtic. I think Livingston are very underrated. I think they'll make it difficult for Celtic. I don't see it being a 4 or 5-0 job. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think Celtic will just have enough to win it 2-1.
Yeah, I've got them down to win it 2-0, Ruffy. What have you got?
I've got 2 as well, 2-0.
Well, of course,
comfortable 2-0.
Comfortable 2-0.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day it will be.
Yeah, we've got that little bit in the great 10 years. Remember the day when you were in your hard-hitting mood and you said if Gordon Strachan loses by 3 goals at Wembley against England, it's time to go. And then your bottle crashed the next day. You lost 3-0. Yeah. We'll do it to go, he's my pal, I've played with him.
Did you change your mind the next day?
Oh God, wait till you see it, by the way. It's actually one of those
They'll be edited to make it look worse than what it was.
No.
Other week.
We're just giving you complete context.
Hoping the John Sutton one's not in it, is it?
The John Sutton one's just absolutely fantastic. I'm commentating at St Mirren. I said, Ruffy, I mean, this game, what does it need? And he says it needs John Sutton to get off. He's rotten. He hasn't scored a goal, and he said he hasn't even scored a goal. He's doing nothing. And I went, cross, Sutton, goal. It was vintage stuff from Ruffy, but there's more than a few bloopers on there. I'm really looking forward to it, Ruffy, but I don't see Livingston offering the same threat at Celtic Park. I think Celtic are a completely different animal at home. Of course, Livingston haven't played in a month. Ange Postecoglou's debating whether that's to their advantage or not.
It'll be a good challenge for us. Obviously, their game got cancelled on the weekend, so yeah, they're coming off a pretty long break, and that can work one or two ways. They're going to have a hell of a lot of energy, and we're going to have to expect that early on. Or if they're not quite at it early on, then we can take advantage of it.
The Celtic manager also, and I think rightly so, and I think probably, I wonder if Michael Beale, what he thought. Jim Goodwin certainly wouldn't have been happy with the 7 minutes, but I think he's urging the referees to be more strict with people who are, goalkeepers wasting time. He wants them to clamp down on that, throw-ins as well. And obviously they've got to take into consideration substitutions. I genuinely hope this is the way forward right across the league. The other thing, I don't know if you noticed it last night, but there was just one or two VAR decisions that were not too long, but okay, but probably could have been quicker, Tam. I hope we're going to take a leaf out of what happened at the World Cup, where, decisions were big, bish bash bosh, it's there, we're off and running again.
Yeah, it was seamless in the World Cup. They got it. It was great towards the end. Even the penalty for Argentina in the final. I thought it looked quite dodgy. I thought they'd have a look at that again, but it was a quick check and it was bang, straight on with the game. So I think the longer it goes, the better it's going to get. We've seen in England, they had a lot of teething problems early doors. It was taking 2 and 3 minutes to get a decision. People in the stadium are wondering what's going on. There's nothing on the big screen. So if we can cut that time down to 10, 15 seconds, I think it would suit everyone going forward.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're adding the time on.
Yeah, when I go to games, I always put a watch on, a stopwatch, and whenever there's an injury, I stop my watch. Yeah, and see how much it adds on the end, and it usually works. They never add it. No, never. It usually works when I start the watch. When the game starts again, and I press my watch to start the game, it's usually the referee usually gets it bang on. Usually. What? In games, yeah.
Really?
Well, hold on a second. You're saying
in the first half of a game,
if a game somebody sits down, he's injured, and you stopped your watch, and then you start it again, the referee's usually got it right.
When I get to 45 minutes in my watch, he usually blows for half time.
Yeah, so he doesn't take into consideration the injury. Yeah. So he gets it wrong.
No, I think he gets it right.
Am I missing something here?
No, he gets it right. When the game stops, my watch stops.
Right.
So when we start again and the game goes on, when 45 minutes comes, that's 45 minutes. So I don't know what he does, but I mean, that's the way it works for me.
No, I'm not having that.
I have that because, especially in the first half, there's very rarely more than a minute at the end of the first half.
Absolutely. It's a nonsense, by the way. It's a nonsense. See, in the second half of games, sometimes I've witnessed in the last, 30, 40 years of watching football, substitutions are plenty. Then the manager will make another substitution with 2 minutes to go, as they did up at Pittodrie, to try and kill the game again.
And what do you tell your what do you tell your player who's coming off to do if you're winning?
No, I think that needs
slow
to be
walk.
Go to the other side, switch him to the other side, right? Walk off. There's another 30 seconds wasted.
Absolutely, and then go down with cramp. That's another one.
I think that has to be cleared up. Not just last night's game. Tell us where the 7 minutes came from. Tell us at the World Cup where you got 10 minutes for. Tell us, and then we all can go, right, it was 30 seconds for a substitution, it was that, for that,
But there was about 9 subs last night, Ruffy. So there's 30 seconds right away.
I'm just saying it'd be interesting if a referee, right, you've given 10 minutes extra in this game, just let us know how you go to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Brian Roberts says, I want to watch like Ruffy's. Brian, so do I, by the way, because I'll tell you, it doesn't have a second hand. In fact, it doesn't even have a first hand. He's just talking nonsense. Ruffy has Thomas McDougall says, Ruffy's got a stopwatch. It's probably a pocket watch. Absolutely. From Downton Abbey.
I've got a pocket watch.
I know you have, Ruffy. We know that. We can tell by your Skechers and your jacket and your jumper that you've been wearing for years. Anyway, never mind that. They could have another signing in. So Celtic tonight, I think we've all got them to win. Some people have, some people don't. And just at this point, I would like to say that Old Firm tickets have been announced. 708 for the game. It's no longer the biggest, derby. It's just that it's been demoted. It's still a good game to watch. But as a spectacle for fans, it's a joke now. Down to Stuart Robertson and it was the chief executive Peter Lawwell, who's now going to come back as the chairman in January. But I think both boards have to, step up and hold their hands up and say they've ruined the game. And of course, Leanne Dempster. Let's not forget her, who started this whole nonsense with Hearts and Hibs. But it's killed this game. 708 fans. It's no longer the spectacle it once was.
I agree with what you're saying, but they'll come back with you and just say, look, we're looking after our own fans.
I don't give a shit.
We want as many fans of our own fans in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll come back with. But I think
that's a spin.
Yeah, but they have to take a leaf out of the World Cup. Look at the fans who were everywhere in the stadium.
Not here, they won't take a leaf out of it. Scotland,
Look, I know,
we're a backward country.
Yeah, well, that's the way it is just now. I think anybody that's been at a Rangers Celtic game, well, that's just my opinion and yours and probably a lot of others. I prefer it when there's a large amount of visiting fans.
Yeah.
It adds something to the game.
Sam?
100%. I don't think it's the same fixture, but I think Rangers were, particularly at Ibrox, I think Rangers were getting tired of getting tanked at Ibrox and all the celebrations for the Celtic supporters in the away end. And
what you think they done it because they were just miffed at Celtic were winning games there?
I think so, aye.
Yeah?
I do. I think they were. And there was an appetite for Rangers coming back, and to fill that with Rangers supporters, I think it gave Rangers an advantage, and it did. Rangers started to win games at Ibrox against Celtic, with the increased support. But I think that they were sick getting a doing for Celtic at home, and they spat a dummy it.
Yeah.
I think other teams are doing it now, Peter. St Mirren, Kilmarnock are all saying if they can get as many of their own supporters in, we're no opening the stand for the Rangers or Celtic. St Mirren do that. They try to get every.
Yeah, but there's still one stand. There's still one end.
Yeah, they're not cutting it down to like a minimum, but they're doing their best.
Yeah. No, I've got no qualms with that, Ruffy. I've got no qualms with clubs turning around and saying, listen, we're going to keep the three ends for you because we think you're going to back the club. And St Mirren have made a conscious decision which financially could actually hurt them, but they've said, no, we're going to go for it. And by the way, the St Mirren fans have responded. Yeah, but Hearts and Hibs, when Leanne Dempster put this whole thing together, Hearts and Hibs, suddenly Hibs realised, wait a minute, we can't fill this place. So we'll let them back in again. And now they've let them back in and the atmosphere's good again. But suddenly we got Rangers jumped on the bandwagon, and then tit for tat, Celtic decided, if you're only giving us 700, we'll only give you 700. And now one of the biggest derbies, not the greatest derby in the world for football, because let's be honest about it, the reason why it's quoted as one of the best derbies is because of a poisonous element of people who just constantly rib each other about Catholicism and Protestantism, which again is not what we really talk about the football. We like to talk about the football rather than the morons who besmirch the whole game. But you should have a huge side where everybody can go and enjoy it. The atmosphere is incredible. I mean, when I was a kid, there's nothing better at going to a game, Tam, and the opposition score. And at each ground, there used to be this delay where you could it was almost as if the sound was travelling, and then all you could hear was the noise from the opposition fans, and they'd scored. It was just.
It's the same when you're on the park. It's the same when they're scoring at Tynecastle in the Hearts end and flicked a header and went in, and it's just that split second, and the Hibs supporters have obviously realised it's a goal, and then you can hear the big roar for the away end. And so it's the same for players as well. But it's disappointing. I would always want to see. I think it makes the game. Tynecastle, Easter Road, 4,000 away fans. Ibrox, 8,000 away fans. Parkhead the same.
You have to look at how good it is at cup finals when it's a split. We're supposed to be a 50-50 split. The atmosphere at that game, whoever it is, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts, Rangers, it's fantastic to turn up at Hampden and it's a 50-50 split. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And also, Andy, now we're getting to the spin that's now fans are now buying into the madness of the board. Andy says, so you think Rangers and Celtic should now sell less season tickets? Suddenly the spin has worked. It's worked on Andy. They just don't want to sell the 7,000 tickets to the away fans. They've ruined the game, that's all we're saying. There's lots of fans now who will grow up as a generation and only through cup games, Ruffy, will feel the atmosphere of what a real Old Firm game's all about.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning, they're looking after their own fans, which you can't blame, but it has ruined the game.
Yeah. Derek McInnes claims Motherwell match isn't a must-win, despite the fact that they've got a bit of a poor away form at the moment. I think Derek McInnes certainly must try and get something to make sure that Killie are not really at that bottom for a long period of time with Dundee United in the relegation battle.
Not must take points from, but I don't think we're at that stage yet. But I think we're certainly looking to take points from. We've played Motherwell. We've beaten Motherwell here. We know the type of level of performance we're going to need to win the game. It doesn't guarantee anything just because you've beaten them before. But certainly for us, it's a game that we feel that we've got to be far better than what we were in the first half at Tynecastle.
It's a strange one. I never thought Kilmarnock were going to be involved in it. Ruffy called it from way back at the start. He thought they were going to be toiling, and so it's turned out.
I just don't think they've strengthened the squad. I think that it's a squad that's just about scraped the Championship. Let's be honest. They 1-0 down to Arbroath in that last game. They were staring at the playoffs and possibly not getting promoted. They come back and win the game, win the league, but they've no strengthened the team. They've maybe brought in squad fillers to boost the squad, but still still playing the same players that played in the Championship, and I don't think they're good enough. And I think they're going to be in serious bother unless Derek signs 2 or 3 quality players in the window that can come into the team and improve them, because they look like a Championship team in the Premier League at the minute.
Yeah, it's one of those situations, Ruffy, where it's about Billy Bowie and how much money he comes up with for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was really interested in talking about a new training ground and all that, which is wonderful. And Derek was saying, the players will really appreciate, which they will, and trying to attract other players in, it will. But at this moment in time, they should be concentrating and staying in the Premiership. You don't want to be coming up one year and going back down the next one. So I think Derek would be better going to Billy Bowie, and I know Billy is 100% behind the team, to say, look, Billy, we need to stay in the division, and I need X amount of pounds to attract the player that's going to keep us there. Let's talk about the training ground 3 or 4 years down the road, which I think they are, but I'm sure they'll be wanting to stay in the division. They have to stay in the division. I don't think they could afford to go back down again.
Yeah, I always think of Kilmarnock as a Premier League club, do you?
Yeah, I do. They've since I was, I don't know when was the last time they were in the Championship. Well, obviously last season, but before then they were never ever in any bother. I think it was the first time they relegated in a long time. So yeah, they are a big club. If they're going well, they'll get a good support there, and particularly with United doing really well. Wouldn't it be great to see an Ayrshire derby in the Premier League for the first time in donkeys?
No.
Yeah, Alan Woods. Alan Woods says Killie are going down, and that gets another plastic pitch out of the top league. Alan, I'm with you. I just think they should be forced into changing the AstroTurf to grass. If you want to play in the top league, have grass. Simple as that. Going out into the Championship could be a problem. 9 SPFL clubs in financial distress over COVID payment cut-off. This is a new study that's revealed the state of the balance sheet in the SPFL. There's been a 50% rise in Scottish clubs showing signs of financial distress compared with March 2022. Does that surprise you? 4 of them are Championship clubs that are showing hardship, and that's just over the case of the last 12 months, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think the COVID is catching up. I think people have to take into consideration, it was a long time without supporters being on the ground, and obviously you've got to keep paying the players' wages and everything that goes along with that, staff that works at the clubs and everything. So it has been a horrendous time to keep any books, and when you hear clubs like Aberdeen showing £5 million losses, and they're really well run, and as are a lot of clubs. So no, it's just when you're in that situation, you've got to do everything in your power to make it as little as possible and try and just keep going.
Yeah, the other thing about it as well, which a lot of people will not obviously be thinking about, but certainly the clubs will be well aware of it. Ruffy will be well aware of it from the time when he was on the Thistle board, is quite simply that travel costs, fuel costs, electricity,
everything's gone up.
All of that, if you think about, I have great sympathy with people who are mates of mine who own nightclubs and pubs and people who work in them as well, because the electricity bill alone, has crippled some. So God knows what it's like for football clubs.
Yeah, the cost of living's going up for everyone, and I don't think the wages are going up, particularly for football players. So No, you're right. It's hard times for clubs at the minute, particularly after the COVID situation. You know, and I don't think we're getting back, completely back into full crowds yet. You know, people still, maybe some people nervous about going out, and getting COVID and stuff like that. So no, there's a lot to work on, but I think that the clubs need to cut their cloth accordingly and just survive at the minute until better times.
I'm surprised the Championship clubs haven't brought their games forward. We think that the floodlights are on for the amount of time that they're on with the price of electricity. I can't believe that they haven't said, look, we want an early kick-off.
Yeah, you going back to the old days of 1973. Let's play games
on a Saturday.
On a Saturday. I don't know what time it gets dark.
That's what they did.
So 1 o'clock kick-off maybe or something.
In 1973, when there was a 3-day week and there was blackouts with electricity, basically we played a lot of games at 12 and 1 o'clock, so that the teams didn't need to put their floodlights on, So it's not a bad idea, Ruffy.
Well, particularly with the electricity prices up just now.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a good fixed rate, as we were at Partick Thistle, we're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not enough though to get you an extra pair of Skechers. Listen, it's tough times and clubs are feeling the pinch as well, and relying on fans to continue their support. The one great thing about Scotland is we're a nation that absolutely loves football. Tam, it's just an obsession. It is to many people who come into the game like Ange Postecoglou and various others who are neutrals, and then come in to our league and see our culture. We're obsessed with football. It's a religion. It's a way of life for some people.
No, it is. It's the biggest sport in our country. There's obviously been lots of studies going out. Per head. Populace. We are one of the. It's one of the best in Europe. So we love our football here. It's fanatical. It's not just Celtic Rangers. There's other clubs as well who are fanatical about their football and other supporters. So no, you're right. When these people come in from abroad, I don't think they can believe the passion that we have got for the game here and how serious we take it and how much it affects everyday life, and it affects people's weekends. If you go and get beaten a Saturday, you're in a bad mood to the Monday. So it's a massive sport in this country.
Yep, absolutely. Couple of things, Ruffy, just before we go. Hearts certainly think they've outgrown the training centre at the Oriam, but they're not going to make any mistakes and any quick moves towards looking for their own. I think he's got a 7-year lease on that, and they're going to honour it and maybe extend it, because trying to find somewhere in a complex in Edinburgh would be absolute mayhem, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they would obviously have to move out of the city the way that Hibs did, but if you ask any football player, you would want your own facilities. You'd want to drive up in the morning, turn up at your own facility, and not being moving or turning up and then travelling away somewhere else. So having your own training facility must be absolutely magnificent. We never had our own training. No Partick, no Hibs,
Never the same.
No Ayr United, no, never ever.
Well, Rangers used to train in the Albion.
Yeah, that's right.
Across there, and Celtic were at Barrafield, which was.
Used to tie the you probably done this. I know. Used to tie the goals in the bar, the posts in the bar to the tap of the minibus, and just drive about Edinburgh, look for a bit of grass.
I remember you doing that.
Didn't have dog doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first week I joined Hibs, it was way back then. At the beginning, it was usually first team versus the reserves, and the training park we had was up at Holyrood. There was football parks at Holyrood, and we drove up there and we were playing the game, and about 15 minutes into the game we were all going to get booked by the parkie because we hadn't booked a permit for the pitch.
That sums it up, doesn't it, really? But in saying that though, Hearts are one club where you would wonder if James Anderson maybe thought to himself,
here you go.
Here's a wedge.
Yep.
I've just bought half of Edinburgh. One little thing that I think is a negative that we talk about, we love people celebrating, but it's a tragedy that one person has died and there's a kid in a coma, because this is down to the Argentina fans, millions of them taking to the streets to celebrate the winning of the World Cup. I mean, when I saw the pictures yesterday of the streets, I mean, it's one of those things. Great, yes, Argentina won the World Cup, but for anyone, one person to lose a lifetime is just, It's a tragedy.
It's awful. I mean, there was estimated 3-4 million people in Buenos Aires, you know, and you see the crowds there, the crushing. They were desperate to get a glimpse of their heroes.
I think they could take them up in a helicopter eventually.
There was one who fell off the top, tried to jump onto the bus. I don't know if you've seen that one.
That from the bridge.
And the guy fell off the top of the bus onto the ground. I hope it wasn't him. But I don't think there was that scale. They couldn't organise something like that. I think it was just people turned up. And there was another one where the Argentina players there was cables and they had to duck to under the cables. So it's been chaos.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you're right. Even for one person to lose their life out celebrating is awful.
Yeah. Just before we go, and this is something that I think a lot of people might, they'll realise what happens. But at all the clubs right across the whole of the Scottish Premier League and beyond, Championship, League One and League Two. Footballers much maligned at times. Some people think they live a life where they're just earning millions. Certainly not in Scotland. I think it's a very small percentage that do. But of all the footballers that play football, they do a lot of things behind the scenes that they don't look for any recognition. And I'm talking about them going at Christmas and various other functions throughout the year. Maybe not as much as they used to do in your day, Ruffy. I think a lot of footballers now maybe don't do the same as the Celtic and Rangers players of old who used to go to hospitals and everything. The reason I say that is because I can remember Tam Burns, doing it religiously. But well done to the Celtic Foundation. I'm giving them a mention because quite simply I do a bit of work for them as well. And they've raised a phenomenal £385,000 with their annual Christmas appeal. It's been absolutely sensational for them. And I think everybody who contributes to it, I know Tony, who's one of the main directors on the foundation board, and they spread that money throughout every denomination. It doesn't matter, it's anybody who needs the help. They try and get to as many charities as possible. And I know lots of footballers, from Rangers, from Partick Thistle, Hibs, a lot, they go out to hospitals and do a tremendous amount of great work at this time.
Yeah, and as Tam will tell you, and yourself, there's nothing better than walking into a hospital when there's some unfortunate child, who's having a bad time, and seeing the smile on their face when one of their heroes walks in. And that's what happens when the Rangers players go in, or the Celtic players go in, or the Hibs players go in, or the Partick Thistle players go in. Just the joy of that moment, can help the family through quite a hard time.
Yeah, and
just to touch on that, a young lad got in touch with me, not young now. I went to Edinburgh Sick Kids about, must be about 15, 16 years ago now, and this wee boy had cancer, and I got my picture taken with him. And he got in touch with me a couple of months ago actually, and showed me the picture, and he's made a full recovery. Wow. And he remembers all us coming in there and the boost it gave him. I just echo what Ruffy says. There's a lot goes on, and sometimes you can just make somebody's day by going in there and seeing them. Yeah, absolutely, and I think that typifies it all. Although that wee boy did send us an email and say the stench of beer off that team that day was unbelievable. But also, Chris Corey, I mean, what's this all about, Ruffy? Chris Corey's just sent us a message saying, major internet connection problems, but that's Australia for you. I've just tuned in. I mean, what's Chris all about, by the way? We've just handed everybody who's watched the show a car and a 4-bedroomed house. He's missed out on it, by the way. Everybody's got sweeties, we've bought them selection boxes and everything, Ruffy.
Well, they'll just have to get in earlier. There's no doubt about it. Get yourself organised.
Chris, sort the internet out in Australia, will you? You're missing out on all these prizes. Anyway, lots of people are talking about the respect that players deserve in clubs, and lots of people who help out in food banks at this very difficult time, and I think Ruffy rightly points out the difficulties that people are facing. If we can bring a wee bit of fun and laughter to your life, then we're absolutely delighted about that. And we like to mention people, especially those who are doing some really good deeds at this time. Quiz, the answer.
5.
4.
4 it is, Ruffy. 4. Look at Ruffy with that look of a condescending
even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and again.
Yeah, Tam, that is it in a nutshell. Honestly, he's had about one right in the 10 years. But it is 4. Aberdeen have won the title, the top flight title, on 4 occasions, 3 of them under Fergie. 79-80, 83-84 and 84-85. And the last time before that was 1954-1955, the last time Aberdeen won the top flight.
Remember the 81s, yeah?
Yeah, the 80s.
Great side.
Honestly, fantastic. And And amazingly, when you talk about that, those guys, it's like Argentina winning that cup, and I think the manager mentioned it and somebody else mentioned it, being part of that team,
Never be
that's
forgotten.
you're bonded for life,
Yep.
isn't it?
Mhm.
I mean, even the teams that you played with, I know there's a real core at Hibs that you've got a strong bond that you'll always be friends.
No, you still keep in touch with everybody. The guys you played well and you had success with. But you know, in terms of winning a title, you know that Aberdeen team, McLeish, Miller, and all that, they must be
Yeah.
revered up there in
I have
Aberdeen.
to tell you, Tam, when they get together, I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky to be in the house with them, and the banter is absolutely
As
magnificent.
it is at Dundee United.
Yeah.
They're very close to the era they had as well.
Yeah, all those winning teams. I mean, it's a bond if you play football, if you love football. We love football, and we certainly love all the fans who follow us on here. I don't know if you've noticed, but 99% of the people who followed us throughout the 10 years are absolutely thoroughly decent people. Thank you very much for showing your support. We try and eradicate the odd one that noises you up on the feed, but I hope you know that we actually try and keep it as decent as possible. So to all of you, don't forget to subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking football news, and as we say on a regular basis, 5 days a week. It's not just a football show. PLZ Soccer has got breaking news on the website, on the social media channels, and we'll get reporters going out to more and more games, and we'll get big news of other programmes coming online in 2023, which I hope you will enjoy. So stay tuned to PLZ Soccer. We are expanding. We're covering football more than any other place that I can think of in Scotland. 5 days a week is a football programme. You know, it's as simple as that. Join the football family if you can. We are uncensored, unbiased, unmatched, and it's all on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. From Tam, Ruffy, and from myself, Peter. Join us tomorrow if you can. Thanks for watching today.